All right, it's 2 p.m. Central African time. A very good afternoon to you and welcome to Market View. Today on the program, we want to look at FSRA, which is training non-banking financial institutions on anti-money laundering guidelines. Our business journalist Nelsiwe Ndlangamandla will join me on the show to look at the importance of complying with global financial institutions. Now, the importance of compliance is very much emphasized across all sectors. What is the price to be paid by non-banking financial institutions on anti-money laundering guidelines should they not follow them? Many more other questions that I have for Nelsiwe as she will join me on our very first segment today, on our second segment, pardon me. But we have our last segment looking at today's financial markets. We're covering ground on equities, gold, commodities, and the forex of the day. Commodities today are generally stable. We want to see why the prices are showing minimal fluctuations. What is impacting that? Gold today, prices are slightly down. Is it because of investors showing a preference for riskier assets amid the positive economic data and the easing of geopolitical tensions? I don't know. Equity markets, they're showing mixed performances today. The indices are trading higher and some are slightly trading down. Sanles Bia is ready to join us virtually today and answer all those questions. Welcome to Market View again. My name is Sifiso Ngumalo. Let's start the show with business news. Right, for our first story, the Indian High Commissioner, His Excellency Ram Prasad, says there are still plenty areas of business collaboration with India, as they are always open to help Eswatini. The High Commissioner said this as he outlined some of the initiatives that they are doing to support local businesses.
Businesses and Eswatini have been advised to constantly visit the website of the Indian High Commission to get more opportunities they can explore with India. The High Commissioner, His Excellency Ram Prasad, says there are officers that are always there and ready to help Eswatini. His Excellency also mentioned that working with different stakeholders, they work with the Ministry of Commerce, Industry and Trade to capacitate local business people, amongst other initiatives.
The dominant theme of India's engagement with Africa in general and also the global south has been, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, which means the whole world is one family. And then under that, we function by the credo of Sabka Saath Sabka Vikas, which means growth, development and prosperity for everyone. So under this, so we have offered various incentives and programs to Eswatini. If you remember, during the leadership of the G20, India was the first country to lend its voice to the global south when it had taken on board all the concerns of all the countries which were either too underrepresented in the G20, and then presented them at the G20 so that the concerns of all these countries which were hitherto unheard will be heard at the G20.
He has also highlighted that they are also willing to help Eswatini where they can with clean energy to keep the lights on for Eswatini and local businesses.
India and France have taken the leadership of there is something called an International Solar Alliance, which is a union of more than 150 nations across the world, and Eswatini is one of the signatories. So once Eswatini is signed on to it, and then it still needs ratification from the Eswatini Parliament. So once that is done, then it will unlock all the opportunities and the functionalities as well as the facilities under this alliance, and provide Eswatini with the necessary expertise, the services, etc., which can enable it to become self-sufficient under this solar alliance. And so that is one. And also India is also a leader in wind energy. We are also looking, we have some very ambitious goals, towards fulfilling our own commitments to become, carbon zero by the year 2070. So we are ready to offer any expertise or any cooperation that Eswatini seeks from us in this regard.
Eswatini and India signed a trade agreement in the year 2002, which allows for more trade collaboration between the two countries. For Market View, Nelson Dlangamandla, Vuminkosi Nzinisa, Mbabane.
Different business associations have advised their members to comply with the Ministry of Finance's directive that different tax fees, especially from the Ministry of Commerce, Industry and Trade, will from the 2nd of next month be paid at the Eswatini Revenue Service Centers. The four-phase revenue takeover project was launched by the Ministry of Finance on Wednesday.
The Ministry of Finance says the new revenue takeover project will help government in improving service delivery in both tax and non-tax revenue. The fees which will be paid at the Eswatini Revenue Service include that of company registration, trading licenses, and liquor licenses. The Commissioner General says more fees will be collected by the service in future.
Abuye ngala utawulandzela lamanye futhi utawusatawute passport konke lokuthi nje imali yahulumende lo mthetho ukuthi delegate to ERS lo under Ministry of Finance.
There has been mixed reactions from the business associations about the announcement.
We hope our members will comply with the directive of the ministry. And I think they'll make efforts also to engage us on the way that they want to implement it so that there is proper education for license holders to know what is expected of them. And more importantly, it's the issue that small business people are the people that create jobs, and workers are the greatest contributor for tax revenue.
Kutawenda kube quicker ukuthi uthole le license ngesikhathi kunalama line usuke e-comments uye revenue phinde usuke revenue ubuye le-comments kungathi uthole i-license. Siyakubonga.
According to the Revenue Act of 2008, the Eswatini Revenue Service is supposed to also collect non-tax revenue. For Market View, Nelson Dlangamandla, Vuminkosi Nzinisa, Mbabane.
Business Eswatini has assured all its members as well as stakeholders that Eswatini's financial sector is secure as well as private banking. Now, in a press statement amid the news articles by the International Consortium of Investigative Journalists on the purported leak of Eswatini Financial Intelligence Unit data, the Chief Executive Officer Inati Dlamini says Eswatini's financial sector is stable, secure and meets the highest standards internationally. Business Eswatini says it is still doing its own investigations on the matter, and the Chief Executive Officer says such articles should be a lesson to all the stakeholders to formulate remedial action to address weaknesses that may exist in the economy. The Chief Executive Officer continues to say they note that the concerted efforts by regulatory authorities to close loopholes in the system, stating that the business organization will throw its weight behind such efforts. Let's go for a net break. We speak to our business journalist Nelson Dlangamandla after the break.
Renewal of TV licenses for 2024 is now open. Here is a quick reminder. A viewer's TV license costs 180 emalangeni per device. Other accessories such as decoders and set-top box cost 50 emalangeni per device. For traders and repairers, TV license costs 300 emalangeni per business area. And now, to pay your TV license, use these following methods. You can use MTN Mobile Money with the number 76222000 or dial *007 *3 *7 hash. Or you can use Eswatini Imali. And you can pay our TV license at any post office in the country. Another option is you can use any Nedbank branch using our TV license account number 119900430037. Don't forget, when paying for your viewers' TV license, reference with your PIN at all times. And when paying for a retailer TV license, reference with your TIN at all times. For more information, call us on 7802-4543 or 34050163 or 34020879. And you can send us a WhatsApp message on 762222000.
Welcome back to the program. Non-financial institutions have been trained on anti-money laundering guidelines to ensure Eswatini remains in a position to trade globally and not be found to be a ground for financing terrorism. The General Manager at the Financial Services Regulatory Authority, Zama Dlamini, says they were able to identify gaps that exist in the FSRA Act of 2010.
Went through a mutual evaluation exercise by SAMLAC. It was checking our compliance when it comes to meeting the FATF recommendations. So as part of that process, a number of deficiencies or weaknesses were identified, of which the country is not compliant to some of those recommendations. So we have to then remediate in terms of addressing any gaps that have been identified. So the amendment of the guideline is meant to address those particular gaps. But also flowing from that, we have taken the opportunity to also engage with the industry in terms of trying to raise awareness, in terms of deepening the understanding on implementing AMLCF risk assessment as well as the risk-based approach, because we all know that we do not have infinite resources. So we have to then to try and target supervisory resources from our end, but also FSPs on their end in terms of targeting the resources that they have on those areas where they identify that there is high risk.
The emphasis on compliance, it's a recurring conversation across all sectors. Nelly, welcome to the program again. Talk to me about the importance of compliance, particularly with regards to non-banking financial institutions. What happens to the non-banking financial institutions? What price do they pay if they do not comply?
Thank you so much, Sifiso Ngivusele nembukele ekhaya. Indzaba yekusetshenziswa noma kungena nekuphuma kwetimali indzaba lemcoka kakhulu, which is why FSRA has taken it upon themselves ukuthi baphindze babakhumbute and strengthen the guidelines that are existing. Kumcoka kakhulu because nangabe umuntu eta asengidawubekisa nje ngedinkampani mhlambe ledik save lako utawufika wena uthi utosave kanti so save imali lese kunyathi lapho khona soto cleaner imali even leSwatini imali lengadingeki ukuthi iya cleaner. What does that do? That can hurt the economy because nangabe ufika nje sekuthiwa mhlambe kunana inkampani eSwatini lebe cleaner imali ngalendlela lena bese ke ukhanza ukuthi lokho ke sekusakhela kabi nakulama investors because the financial sector is hurt in that way because investor itawubuka ukuthi how eSwatini shorty akukagcini kahle maybe imithetho yabo when it comes to anti-money laundering.
It's quite interesting, and I'm well aware that the stipulated guidelines kukhona leswathatha kubo IMF, kukhona
Yes,
leswathatha kubo
true.
World Bank, and then we
Yes.
have our own
Yes.
domestic guidelines. And what I'm learning now is that the price is not only paid by the non-banking
Yes.
financial institutions, but the whole country.
The
country is
Who
hurt.
would want to trade Sfiso with Eswatini when Eswatini has been smeared with agalanzeli
And
imithetho
that's
of
corruption,
these
essentially. Yeah.
international organizations, the same organizations letiphinze thine siye kuto siyocela timali.
Yeah.
And nangabe ukhanza ukuthi we are failing to trade,
Yeah.
because it can even lead to blacklisting Eswatini from trading with the international
community.
economies.
Yeah.
So that means nangabe sebas blacklistile, what will happen? What will happen is sitakuthatha lokudla, we are importing more,
Yeah.
we are exporting. Ikhona le mali lengenako ngema exports.
Yeah.
Despite that live al exporting kakhulu, but
Yeah.
we are seeing a slight growth in the exports
Yeah.
over the years. So that means ukuthi it will hit
Yeah,
home,
to
because
the
kusho
band.
ukuthi
Yeah.
titawukhula nale tinfo lana eveni, lokho ke sekutawusparka ini political tensions. Tawukhanza ke sesibantfu labakwatile, because we can't even afford some of the things lesitifunako, because now sesitendele
Yeah.
i-situation lengasiyo yinhle ngaphandle, which is why lama organizations lafana nabo FSRA and government are working ngalendlela lena to ensure ukuthi live
Yeah.
aligcini lifika lapho.
And, you know, Nelly, I'm just thinking about, just yesterday, we saw His Majesty the King, Msebenzini Lomkhulu, the sword cutting of a big investing, you know, opportunity for Eswatini with the Semlex Group and Msebenzini Lomkhulu kakhulu. And, you know, if we were smeared by all those
Yeah.
things, such investments wouldn't be coming to Eswatini. You're speaking to, you know, it's very true. We don't export as much as we want to, but
Yeah.
we are on the drive to be an export-led economy. So we want to have a good track record when it comes to these issues. Let's talk about the FSRA Act of 2010. Lamini spoke about it briefly. What does it say? What does it communicate with regards to compliance? And really, is it
Yeah.
feasible enough? Are we seeing the fruits of this act?
FSRA Act of 2010 ikhona iyasebenta, but ke uShido CEO waka FSRA ukuthi vele iyadzinga lokuthi icolwe, iyadzinga lokuthi ibuketwe, because kusesekhona lapho khona ukhanza ukuthi abafinyeleli khona. I'll make an example. Noma ngabe bona bayakhona kutfola kwekuthi ngazuthi lapha akuhambi kahle, but lo mthetho awubaniki bona leligunya lekwekuthi go there ufike uvale. So they have to work maybe with different stakeholders ukuthi mhlambe kuze kugcine kwendekile lokho. So lo mthetho doesn't give them enough teeth to go there and close down some of these institutions labeva ngathi adzinga ukuthi ngabe ayavalwa mhlambe lese eMaswati alahlekelwa timali tawo.
Imithetho iyareviewa vele
Yes,
anyway.
yes.
Imithetho can never be long lasting like that. The longevity yawo ihambe yengekuphela ibese iyabukwa. Let's look at the reactions by non-banking financial institutions having learned or having been workshopped around this matter.
The focus was not on non-bank financial institutions, it was more on banks proper. So Nyalo, when we are doing our work as I'm an insurer, so when I conduct whatever business, I need to ensure that I align with the processes and understand the nature of the clients that I deal with, the types, and also come up with products that are effective and are commensurate to what the clients need.
We were workshopped on how to design an AML CFT compliance program. The program will incorporate how we onboard our clients and how we exit them and how we rate them in terms of the risk that they pose to the business when we bring them as part of our clients. So I think it's the cornerstone of an effective AML CFT compliance framework.
I love the fact that they all sound like they're really grateful to learn everything that they've been workshopped about, and the fact that you can tell that they were really, really listening, because everything that they are saying is quite on par with what is being said by the FSRA. What measures do you think, Nelly, could be implemented to make sure that all these gaps that we have spoken about and all these developments that FSRA would want to implement really to close onke lama loopholes la khona, umaphi lawo measures lawo locabanga ukuthi angaba khona to enhance the anti-money laundering compliance?
Thank you Sifiso. Okwekuqala njena i-International Monetary Fund ikhuluma kakhulu ngendaba yekuthi the policies themselves should be strong enough kwekuthi kungavumeleki bo anti-money laundering. I'll make an example kwekuthi siyabuka ukuthi kune central bank la eveni lekufanele ukuthi lefana ne-clearing house nakungena noma kuphuma imali, especially imali letinkulu. If those institutions are strong and they are exercising their powers ngendlela lefanele, utawukhanza ukuthi letimvo leti atendeki bo FSRA nabo lama policies nawakhiwe kahle njengoba basho nabo ukuthi vele kudzinga ukuthi salosicinisa lapho kakhulu, utawukhanza ukuthi live liyakhona kuyivikela i-money laundering. Bese ke kuba exercising due diligence kwekuthi nangabe nje ngiyafika ngithi ndofaka imali eveni vele asengibuke ukuthi le mali ngithi ngidoyifaka ngiyithathephi. Ngilokunye FSRA lebeka kufundisa lokho ukuthi asikubukisise kona lokho, but those are the key things letikhona nalengitibonile ku-International Monetary Fund kwekuthi timcoka kwekuthi the clearing houses lama institutions that hold these non-financial and financial institutions accountable nawo awaqiniswe phela ayiqiniswe lemithetho labasebenta ngayo.
For Wongosi, isho njalo business journalist, and certainly that is what the FSRA is saying as well. But also, really important, non-banking financial institutions, please comply. Gutao sita wena logo Eswatini longa litfola na unga comply lukhulu kakhulu. As again, a leave has a big price to pay should you not comply. Let's go for a net break. We look at today's commodities, which are being generally stable today. We have seen gold today slightly down, as well as equities showing mixed signals. We'll discuss all of that with our economist analyst B after the break. Ujala masada mahle kunathi lesa.
Sabathandi ukuthi njengalokhu
Sifile sive sitikhulume.
Be sure to catch Business Watch every Wednesday between 2 p.m. to 3 p.m., where we feature the latest updates on business news, market trends, and exclusive interviews with industry leaders, as well as insights on emerging small and medium enterprises in the commercial sector. Business Watch, your business leader.
Welcome back to the program. Let's look at today's financial markets. Mr. Sanalis Bia is ready to join us. In fact, he has joined us already virtually to talk about the indices of the day. Commodities today generally stable. Prices are showing minimal fluctuations, Mr. Sbia. Oil prices, which is always our focus when we look at commodities on the show, they are holding steady. What is that telling us?
As we said, so as you rightly put, oil prices are holding steady there because, there is this emerging piece out of the actually good retaliation that the world was expecting. So there is a bit of window of peace, and then the oil is still trickling into the market. So now the markets are pricing in. But when you look at gold, you can see that gold is continuing to sparkle at present, given all of these geopolitical tensions and given Lama readjustment in expectations and interest rates cuts across the globe. So you can see gold still holding steady there because it's now become the best way to hedge and try to protect yourself against this barrage of risks that have to be taken into consideration.
Does this then mean investors will show maybe a preference for riskier assets?
When you look at the market, why just a pause? You will see that if you go across the US and you go across Europe and also in South Africa, you will see that markets are trying to move to safer havens, which is what gold is actually offering at present. A silver haven, it's a precious metal. It's always going to be there. It's always going to be worth something, regardless of whatever happens in the geopolitical landscape. So we are seeing that coming into play. That is why gold keeps on pushing the boundaries. It keeps on edging higher and higher compared to the previous days.
Ngifuna lokuthi sibuke ema-equities masinyane, Mr. Sibiya. We are seeing mixed performances today there. I wonder, lamanye ama-indices ayakhombisa ukuthi they are trading higher, but some are slightly down. Engabe yini le impactor these numbers that we are seeing today?
So what is happening, if you are looking at the US, so you will see go to the Dow Jones Industrial Average, now ipansi. If you look at the Nasdaq, it closed a bit lower, same thing with the S&P 500. And then you go to Europe, you will see what's going to mixed performance. FTSE in London is doing fairly better. Same thing with the French, and then you look at the Germans, they are edging between the blue, the green, and the red. You go to Asia, you will see what Asia is actually green across the board, and then in Johannesburg, just across Lancashire, you will see what we are seeing a red again. So to tie that all into one perspective, it is to do with the geopolitical risks that we are seeing, and also to do with the interest rate expectations that we are seeing. Markets are trying to price that in. So when the week started, post last week, when markets closed, post that data coming out of the US and post these geopolitical tensions starting to simmer in the Middle East, we saw the major companies in the US started selling off, So nyalo siyabona ukuthi those companies are trying to buy back. So that is why we are seeing London taking leave of that overnight trade in the US. And then we're also seeing ukuthi London, tinombolo te-inflation tiphumile taya phansi, which then somehow bolstered the economy. And then when you go to Asia, you will see that in Hang Seng and in China, in mainland overall, the mood is good there because we are seeing GDP data coming out of China showing that that it's a stronger economy than people had actually expected. So now that signals were good, China is going to give us the growth that we are hoping for in the year 2024. And then you juxtapose that with what is happening in the US. We are seeing NVIDIA trying to gain ground again. The blue chip companies are trying to start a buyback after that sell-off. So now Asia is taking leave of all that overnight trade. So we're also hoping that now when the US, with opening bells, we should actually see the markets edging on to the green as well in that side.
So what I'm picking up from what you're telling us is that Forex markets today are relatively calm. Major currency pairs trading within narrow ranges, right? But the United States dollar holding steady against most currencies. I mean, you've spoken about the major economies. You've spoken about the US. You've spoken about what is happening in London and the minor fluctuations in Asia. Let's talk about how all of that now affects how Lilangeni trades with all these currencies.
Yeah, as you're rightly saying, you can see what the market currencies that Lilangeni is holding steady there at that 19 region, edging closer to the 4 region, but still losing a bit of ground, though marginal. And you can see same thing against the euro, and also we've lost a bit against the yen. So what is pushing that is, the markets are now trying to factor in the newfound peace in the Middle East, and also factor in issues of, interest rate hikes, and also trying to factor in the data coming out of the US, that strong performance data coming out of the US. So the markets are now trying to reprice and just to see now that we've passed this frenzy of the potential risk in the Middle East, where are we going now, and we've seen the US cutting sanctions on on Venezuelan oil. So now that somehow brought a bit of calm into the market, and also markets have to come up with a new strategy. So what we are seeing right now is a pricing in of all of those factors into the markets, and how investors are going to have to price going forward and really try to think of a new strategy, because it seems we are coming into a type of setup, and we are allowing more oil to come into the market. So that's actually a sigh of relief in terms of the risks that the markets are facing in the short term.
Certainly praying for more peace, we are sorry to cut you, we've run out of time, hoping that the peace will permeate across all the geopolitical tensions that exist. Sesifike emaphethelweni ehlelo lethu lalo mohla, nibe nelusuku loluhle. Bye bye.